Hey, good morning and welcome to Breakthrough Walls. I'm Ken Walls and I'm your host. Today I have an NFL guy on. This dude is like a brother to me, Jackson Crisp. And I'm telling you, the way that Jackson and I met is he was kind of mouthing off a little bit to me and I had to whoop. No, I'm kidding. No, that's not how we met. And then I woke up in a coma. Anyway, hey, you guys, listen, you're going to love this dude. He's freaking amazing. His energy is off the charts, and you're just going to love this guy. So share this out right now. If you would, please share this out and stay with us. We'll be right back with Mr. Jackson Crisp. All right, we are here. We are back. Let me bring Jackson on. Jackson, welcome to Breakthrough Walls.
Hey, brother. Thank you. Thank you. You know, it's amazing seeing you always.
Dude, I can't even. It's been like 17 years we've been trying to put this together.
Hey, man, that's never because of me saying, hey, can I? Yeah, always something.
I mean, dude, you're in Vegas. It's super early. It's what, 8 o'clock out there?
Yeah, yep. It's just past 8.
That's early, man. So Jackson, you and I, we met on Clubhouse.
Yes, in Glenn's room.
In mine and Glenn's room.
And yes, that's right, at the time.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've been on Clubhouse since. I'm just messing. It was too addictive is what it was.
Oh man,
yeah.
Dude, I know. I was telling somebody yesterday, I'm like, I don't do Clubhouse anymore because there's people like to pontificate. They like to get on there and just anyway. We won't even go there.
We won't.
Yeah. But Jackson, and then you're in Craig Duswalt's mastermind, right?
Yeah. No, I've known Craig for several years. He was one of the first guys I actually met when I sort of broke out in terms of doing speaking full time and some of the business coaching stuff full time. So Craig, he's a mutual friend, a great dude.
Love that dude, man. We're business partners now, Craig and I. So yeah, we got a lot going on, man. But let's talk about you. So this show is about having a breakthrough in life, and because people get stuck, they don't know how to get unstuck. And I think that by hearing other people's stories.
I'm sorry about that. I'm trying to share
Share it. Go for it. No, go for it.
Right. Me and tech. All right. We have technical difficulties.
It's all good. So, this is about your life story. So I'd love to start with, first, let's talk about how tall you are, man. Like you look real little on screen here right now, but in real life, you're like 7 foot tall or something. How tall are you?
Well, let's see. I'm 6'8", and we'll just say around 420-ish.
Jeez! Wow! We're
trying to get that weight closer to 320-ish.
I'm gonna get you to go vegan, man. You'll be.
You've already affected me there. I'm looking more into it, getting more and more serious.
I know.
But that's a big move.
It's a huge move, dude. Dude, I'm down 25 pounds. So, but so let's start with where you were born and raised, man. Where do y'all begin for you, Jackson?
Yeah, so it's sort of a cool story and a weird story. people always look at me in my life because I have done a lot in my adult life in terms of living different places and doing different things. So they say, "Oh, he's got to be from New York or Hawaii," right? I get the Hawaii thing a lot, or some exotic island. But it's actually, I grew up in Cheyenne, Wyoming, believe it or not.
Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Cheyenne, Wyoming. Yep, and my
What?
mom is still there. Yeah, or
Dude,
not in Cheyenne, but Wyoming.
I spent a month in Cheyenne one night.
Let's just say when I was 18, I was out of there. I appreciate it for what it was. You know, you got some good values and you didn't get exposed to a lot of the crazy out there, but yeah, it's not a lot happening there. It's a very sheltered. It was a very sheltered situation in terms of some aspects of life. Yeah.
Let me say this, dude. So we drove from Ohio to Utah for Doug Wing's book signing event out there in Utah. And so we went through Wyoming. And this is after I became vegan a few months ago. And one thing I noticed about Wyoming is about every 5 miles or so on the interstate, you see a sign that says beef. It's what's for dinner. And I was like, what the hell? There's no vegan options in Wyoming.
See, that's what that's what I'm having to break through right there for this thing, Ken. It started back in my youth.
Right. It's Wyoming's fault. So dude, so you is that where you grew up your whole childhood?
Yeah, so that's where I went to school all the way through 18, and then I got the opportunity for college, the Colorado School of Mines, just up the road, or I guess down the road to Denver and Golden.
Wow. Yeah. My wife says nothing wrong with sheltered you'll love my wife, dude. Y'all are gonna meet soon. I
already know it. Yeah, I can already know it.
I mean, she tolerates my stuff, so trust me.
If she could
tolerate, wow, that is the most tolerant woman on the planet. Well, good morning, Tom Ginn. So you okay? So you're a big dude.
Yep.
Right. I'm sure that
a figure skater.
Do what?
I wasn't a figure skater. No.
That would have been my first guess. Like he's
or a high diver. I get that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So you when you were a kid, were you tall and a bigger guy as a kid too?
Yeah. So as a kid, yeah, I've always been a guy that I've always been above the curve in terms of size in the 90-some percentile, right?
Yeah.
So I think I was this tall in the 9th grade, this tall and about 250-ish, and a little awkward. My body was still catching up with terms of
you were 6'8" in the 9th grade?
Yeah.
Shut up. Are you serious?
Yeah. So
I'll bet you didn't get picked on.
No, and that's the other thing is I was always sort of a class, like a lot of humor and massively, you know, everyone has ADHD nowadays, but back then it was not known.
Yeah. And
it was actually problematic in terms of how the teachers, you know, we all have our stories. I wasn't supposed to go to college. I wasn't college material, according to they told my mom that and all that. But I was always a tall, big guy and always protected the little guy. And so some people sort of, that actually came because I was bullied, believe it or not. Even being a big kid, I was bullied probably through the 7th or 8th grade. The guy's name was Mark. I still remember it. And anyway, Mark one day knocked the books out of my hand on the wrong day, and I was suspended, and that never happened again with Mark.
and Mark had to change his name to Smudge.
That's where I sort of stepped into my power, and I've always just sort of watched out for the weak or the weird people, you know, because I always tell them that if you're weird, you're the ones that turn out to be the most phenomenal because you're true to yourself and embrace it. And this weird phrase when I talk to kids will pass, and it's going to be gold. So yeah, it's sort of my message. And I've always just sort of, I appreciate different types of people, Yeah. And never was really cliquish. Always had, I played a lot of sports, so those were some of my closest friends, but I hung with a lot of different groups and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. So Mark, I heard this comedian one time, just a side note, this comedian, his name was Mark. And he said, my name is Mark. And he goes, what is a mark? A smudge on a piece of paper? The sound of a hair-lipped dog. Mark. I'm like, dude, that's so funny. So Mark bullied you and you handled it.
Yeah.
Eventually.
When you just don't realize, and that's a lesson I teach too. You don't realize your own power. And that's happened to me throughout my life, right? So I played D2 football. We'll get into some of that maybe later.
Yeah.
I did play that, and then I got the shot, and I was like, how did I ever play at the level I was playing it? Because it was just when you hit those next levels and you look back at where you were and what you could have done then, right?
Yeah.
That's with a lot of things in life, business and sports.
Yep.
Yeah.
So your parents, everybody, you had a good family and upbringing growing up, and
yeah, I always say who has the perfect family. I know that there's a lot of shows and all that to try to paint the pictures of perfect families with, the 2 parents and the 2.2 kids and the dog and blah blah. But my story's a little different. I'm biracial, and so you can imagine back in that day the challenges just with my mom being in a relationship like that and some of the things with that. One thing just from me being born and sort of who the kid I was, that you changed there were a lot of maybe negative negative stuff around race. I don't want to say racism, but just unknown stuff that just being exposed changed a lot of attitudes, right? So my mom and dad were never married, and my dad I would see once or twice a year. Didn't really like the guy as a kid. He's pretty rough guy. But then 18, I had a shift where I saw him as an adult, not a dad. He was sort of an absent dad.
Yeah.
And I learned more about why he is who he was as a big black man growing up in the South and the challenges he faced that I didn't necessarily know as a kid, right?
Yeah.
And he said he was truly apologetic from his heart in terms of some of the stuff that how he was as a dad. And he said he doesn't know better. And we had a coming to Jesus or whatever moment at that time, and a good cry.
Yeah.
And I would say from my 17th and 18th birthday, we became best friends. And truly my dad, and he unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago, but at least we, became very close and all that. And definitely one of my legends. Yeah.
I remember that. I remember, like, you talked about that on Clubhouse.
It was a week after that.
Yeah.
And I was in a really weird, and I remember Glenn walked me, you guys, we both walked me through that a little, I wasn't really talking at that point, but I got some stuff out, and it was just really good to talk at that time.
It was awesome, dude. So your dad, was he a big dude too?
He was a big tough, he was a badass.
Was he?
A badass with a big heart. And so I always say that he loved everybody. Didn't matter, sort of like whatever you were and all that. If you were a good person, he was good to you. He had a big heart, a big laugh. Awesome. His jokes were always very real, but funny. You know what I'm saying? I think he was 6'4", and he'll say he was always 265, but I think he hit the 3 bills a few times.
So you were bigger than your dad even.
Oh yeah.
Wow, dude, that's crazy. So you get through high school, you graduate, and you end up going to college in Colorado, right?
Yep.
And what college was it again?
So that story's a little, I'll come into this a little bit. So I told you about how I wasn't supposed to go to college. And then my high school year, I started zeroing in on how I learned the best, because they didn't have you know, like again, ADHD wasn't diagnosed. So you just were sort of on your own. And a lot of the comprehension tests were, even for math and science, were very reading intensive. And so you were on these time tests with reading comprehensive standardized tests. And reading was very hard for me. I could do it, but it was just very focused. It's a very a lot of people might understand, but it just takes a lot of time to get through it.
Yeah.
And so I didn't do very well on the standardized tests, but I had a good GPA in high school. I started turning that around because I started learning how to teach myself to learn, basically. And so my coach at the Colorado School of Mines was a school I went to in Golden. And I like to brag about them because, you know, we compete with Harvard in engineering. So it's an elite engineering school. We beat Harvard in 2014, I think, in terms of a top engineering school. So it gives you sort of a feel for the school and the academics there. The coach really wanted me to come there, and I really wanted to go there. Football was not something I was just wanting to use football to get my education.
But wait, did you play sports in high school?
Yes, I was a 3-sport guy. Yep, basketball, track, and football.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And
What'd
that's
you
where
do in track? The 40-yard dash?
Yeah, the high jump and the pole vault. No, I was the shot putter discus thrower, man.
Oh my God. That is so funny, man.
So the coach got talked with the academic folks there, and they did not want to let me come. They didn't want to break the standard for Mines to let this potential football player in that didn't do good on the standardized test. But the coach had a lot of pull, and Marv K, one of my true mentors in life, got me the opportunity to go there under academic probation for the first year. And so I was being watched very closely. I got a full athletic scholarship, but was on academic probation coming into the school. What I always like to say is, so I went through that first year and got, I think I got a 3.8 GPA.
Wow.
Right? And so I came off of probation, not only came off of that, but I earned a full academic scholarship and gave my athletic scholarship to another player. So that's sort of how that whole thing converted into a transition from high school to Mines.
So this college had a football team, obviously.
Yep.
So okay.
The football team back then, and this is incredible, we were not known as we were not the football powerhouse, right?
Right.
We did good as the RMAC. So the sort of the I can't remember the acronym right now. That's horrible. But we're basically NCAA 2. Okay.
Yeah.
And we were not known for football. We were known for academics.
Right.
And people use football to get their academics. But believe it or not, in the last several years, and the coach actually moved here, Mines is ranked in the top 2 to 3. I think they ranked third in the nation this last year. They took an all NCAA nationwide.
Wow.
So they have a powerhouse football team now on top of the education. So they've done a heck of a job with that, and I'm still involved with them as the alumni. I actually went there when they were this last year. I think they made it to the semifinals nationwide. So pretty incredible.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
So you were probably one of the top wide receivers they've ever had.
Well, safety. Yeah. Yeah, safety and water boy. So I would sort of make sure everyone stayed hydrated, and every once in a while we get it on the special teams and maybe a spot on the safety thing.
You're right. This right here is some high quality H2O. So what position did you play?
I was the blind. If you remember the movie The Blind Side, so I was the offensive left tackle.
Oh God.
So the guy protecting the quarterback's blind side.
Wow.
Yeah. Oftentimes I always like to say the number 2 guy, in terms of on the offense, because you are protecting the quarterback or the
because that's where they want to get him, is the blind side. Right. Wow, that's okay. So that's cool, man. I wouldn't mind having you protecting my blind side at all times.
Well,
So
see, well, you already
right?
got that. You know, I always got your back,
I
man.
know. Look, Craig Duswalt's on. What?
Hey,
What?
what's up, brother? The rock star himself.
I love Craig. So all right. So you go through college. Your first year, you get a 3.8. They put you on academic probation the day you start. Like you're guilty before.
Yeah.
Like
Oh yeah.
what? That's
Yeah.
crazy, man.
Well, remember,
Anyway,
the academics didn't want me. You know, they were very, they didn't want to start a precedent with that.
wow.
And so I had a lot of, you know, people talk in college. I was a two-sport athlete, and so I did better during this. People think that I can't do this because of time, and I'm like, I actually did better
Yep.
when I was in sports than when I wasn't, because you had to structure your time.
Yeah.
And we'd be studying on bus trips. So other people are going on, you know, we'd be getting prepared for tests. There were no breaks. And so I always tell people, you know, some of the bigger schools and all that, they have tutors and favors and and
Yeah.
strength coaches and
Yeah.
nutritionists. There
Yeah.
was, you know, that there was none of that. No, it was
No.
yeah, just everything
Wow.
was the same for us.
So did you graduate college?
Yeah, so I did graduate college. I was one humanities short when I got my shot for the Jets in the NFL. And they let me do a remote study program because we're not a humanities school, right? So it wasn't like a core physics or math
Yeah.
or any engineering related subject. So they actually let me do a remote course on that and do a big paper. I don't remember what the paper was on, and I ended up getting my diploma via remote. Yeah.
Uh, because you were with the Jets?
Yeah. So, you know,
The Jets, the NFL team?
yeah. So I'll get into how all that started a little bit. So one of the, I always talk about the little misses, and you talk about breakthroughs. We all
Yeah.
have things that, and I've had several of them, life-changing things that just didn't go the way that you were thinking that they were going to go.
Right.
I was going to talk a little bit on a few of them, but one of them was this NFL shot. Like I said, it wasn't on my radar. I was, I think it was my junior year or going into my junior year, and I had been in the All Star, or made it to the Division II All Star team 1 or 2 years, and so I caught the attention of scouts with my size. Right, but School of Mines at the time, again, their football program wasn't really known for football. And so I was invited to start training with CSU or CU and Doc Crease and some of those guys over there, Cordell Stewart, Westbrook. Some of these guys are really old. You know, unless you were back in the '90s, you're not going to know their name. But and
I was there. I was there.
yeah. And so I would go train with them, and I also was working with some Broncos. It was Gary Zimmerman was a all pro tackle, and that's when Elway was there and all that. And so they were sort of taking me under their wing and I was starting to get a lot of press. And anyway, I went into the regional combine there, and I just blew it away. At 315, I think I ran a 4.8940. I did a 225 press for 42 times. A lot of people aren't going to know what those numbers are, but very, very high numbers that put me instantly on the draft boards. And so I go from sort of obscurity to all of a sudden a lot of write-ups in the paper, anticipation for the draft, anticipated third, fourth round pick, and all this stuff started getting real crazy all of a sudden. And so that started happening my junior year. And to go back, the coach always regretted this too, and I did too, because this actually added to one of the misses. I did not redshirt, right? So I played all 4 years, and a lot of people redshirt their freshman year, so they end up getting that other year.
Look at Craig. That means you can lift me 42 times.
You are not 225, Craig. Or maybe you are. We got to talk.
I love it. Oh,
no shaming. No shaming.
Craig just got called out. Have another cheeseburger, Craig. He's like, oh my God, I'm being roasted all of a sudden. Oh, that's funny.
But yeah, so all that just came to fruition, and I'll fast forward to then I go from mines to sitting in the mess hall. I call it on the Legends team with the Jets, because all these guys I had watched me growing up in high school were at the end of their careers. So on that Jets team, there was Ronnie Lott, Boomer Esiason, Art Monk, James Thornton from the Bears. Our coach was Pete Carroll. I mean, it was a completely crazy nostalgic thing, because I got to do some scrimmaging against William Perry when he was with Philadelphia, and Greg Romanowski, and Greg Townsend. So all these these Hall of Famers and Pro Bowlers towards the end of their career. So the opportunity that I did get was pretty cool.
That's amazing, dude.
Yeah.
Wow. So did you went in through the draft? Is that right?
Yeah. So that was a crazy day, man. I like I said, there was a lot of hype, and I was on I forgot the name of the people that project where you're going to go on the draft, but I was a third or fourth, or maybe even second, let's say 2 to 4 round projected pick. And the little miss that happened that year is no linemen. There were no tackles that went. Typically, because tackles get hurt a lot, they are flying off the shelf during the draft. Linemen are going quick. And that particular year, if I would have redshirted, right, the year before, the year after, it would have been a completely different story, bigger money. And when you go in, the thing about the NFL is when you go in a higher round, they invested money in you, so you get sort of guaranteed opportunities to shine for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
Whereas the lower you get to free agent, that it's a business dealing. So you could be the best one, but didn't get drafted, and they maybe they drafted someone the year before, and that's what happened in my case, right? I actually got told that they felt I beat out the guy in front of me, but the guy in front of me got drafted the previous year, and they had more developmental dollars into him. So long story short, we go into this draft. I'm excited. Again, not expecting. I'm just we're at the football house at Mines. I was at a fraternity there, and the draft's going, and no tackles are going, right? And we're just like, and it's the second round, and the third round, no linemen. And so the third round passes, and still no linemen. And then the linemen start getting picked up in the fourth. A couple did or something. And the draft keeps going. It's when they had 7 rounds, and nothing was happening. And I always like to talk about this because the movies are true. In the 5th round or the 4th round, the Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line coach called me because I knew a lot of the players on the Steelers from CU.
Yeah.
And so they sort of had a personal relationship with me. And he said, "We're going to pick you up in the 5th or 6th round, son." And I was like, "All right." Like, okay, at least it's something. I'll get a shot. I know the guys there. I'll go into a place where I know people.
And I mean, I'm a diehard Steelers fan, so that's a good choice. So
yeah, and it would have been. They needed me there, right? They actually needed backup tackle there.
Yeah.
But they went the 5th and 6th round passed and nothing, and then they did pick me up. They went with someone else on the board, right? So they told me they were going to do it, and they went with someone else on the board. And then the 7th round passed. So it went from this hype to, and this is a lot of players' experience.
Wow.
Because right now I'm on the alumni here. I'm the vice president in Vegas for the NFL alumni. So I talk with the players a lot about their experiences. And the draft day is just a crazy day. People don't realize it, but it went from this hype to crickets. And I was like, whoa. Wow. And so the agent called me right after draft, and he said, "Don't worry about it. We'll pick up tomorrow." And I guess the Jets called after that, and they worked up a free agent contract, and a little bit of money, not big money, and that all happened.
Wow. So you did not get drafted?
No. It was
holy moly.
So big money. That's a big shift, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, and the little things with that opportunity kept happening, right? Like the little misses, and then ultimately an injury that stopped the career before it started. So I always say, I played in the NFL, but I didn't get traction. I was an inactive free agent. When I got there, I came up to speed very quick, and I remember telling myself, "Oh my God, this is sort of easy for me," because I was considered a big tackle. And then I said I could really do this for a while and make some good money, and it was fun, and I was beating, I was right in the thick of it, just moving people. And when I got released from the Jets, the coach said, "You're going to go to the World League." So that's NFL Europe back then. So there was I think I started off the Scotland Claymores and ended up with the Rheinfire, Dusseldorf Rheinfire out of Germany.
Jeez.
And so that's when this thing started not ticking right. So I got my starting position, and I always like to say in tennis shoes, because they didn't have big enough shoes for me for my cleats.
What?
This is right. They didn't have and so there are two types of cleats. There are screw-in cleats, and then there are molded cleats. And linemen typically never wear the screw-in cleats. They're called knee busters, right? And I just refuse to wear them because they just grab so good that when your foot slips, it's just a little tweaky on your knee. So no, I never wore them. And we had ordered my Sharks to come in because I had been practicing in field turf shoes with no cleats. And the coach said, "We're going into the scrimmage." He said, "Do you mind just putting on these screw-in cleats that we have?" Because my shoes didn't make it there, my Sharks, the molded cleats. And I reluctantly, right, I was saying no the whole time, but it was a scrimmage coming up. And I reluctantly said yes. And the first play of down, my cleat stuck and my back foot slipped, and I blew the MCL 100%. And so that ended that just as quickly as it started. And so I did a little European tour in a knee brace for a few weeks, and then went back and rehabbed.
Let me ask you. So in the NFL, when you were with the Jets, were you like there during games? I mean, were you playing with the Jets? Did you?
Yeah. So how it works is you get drafted, and then there's a spring camp. Right.
Okay.
And so I'm a free agent. I did get some money. So it wasn't just there was some vested interest in me, and obviously from the draft position down. And but you still had to win your spot. It's very competitive.
But they have minimum salaries, right? Like 300 a year or whatever it is.
It was 250 at the time.
Okay.
Very little. Now it's a lot different. I think it's a lot different. So
is it? Yeah.
Yeah. On all salaries. I think a left tackle it was incredible, and it should have happened. Just got $100 million contract. Which was
what?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was like, yes, they're finally getting paid.
But back then it was minimum of 250 or whatever, right?
Yeah, lot smaller money. Yeah. And so you basically
that's not bad for a kid coming up in Wyoming. I mean,
no. And it's weekly, right? So you're getting the weekly checks.
Yeah.
So you go into a spring camp, and you're competing all the time.
Yeah.
I have a crazy story on breaking my hand in spring camp like 2 weeks before, where I didn't report it because I didn't want to be deemed a problem. So I just kept re-breaking the hand and made it through the end of camp. Anyway, we won't get into it. It's a crazy story. But I did end up making the squad for fall camp. So that's where the preseason happens. And then what happens is you're doing a bunch of scrimmages. They're not the pregame scrimmages or the pregame scrimmages, but they're just inter squad scrimmages. Like we played Philadelphia. We scrimmaged Philadelphia and Buffalo and some other teams local.
Yeah.
And then you go into the preseason games, and that's when they start cutting down to the final roster. Right. So I made it to the last cut. And that's where the coach said, "You did way more than we were thought you would do this year, but we have more invested in this other guy, and we're going to go ahead and keep you on, but you're going to go into the World Football League."
Okay.
Afterwards, so they
own that too, the World Football League.
It was the NFL trying to introduce football to the world.
Got it.
Right. And so I was an inactive guy. So I never made active roster with the Jets and went into the World Football League. And then they were going to bring you back around for the following season. And that's where the little things started happening, and ultimately a shoulder surgery that just blasted it. So
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
They
So
say the NFL stands for not for long. That's the ongoing joke with a lot of players, because
right.
it's the guys that make it, there's a lot of luck and skill and taking care of your body, but it's all three of those things.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Just,
Big Ben. Like, dude, like
those types of guys are just incredible.
I love Ben, man, but I said for probably 4 years he needs to retire, man. He's beat up.
Yeah.
I mean, he just was. He didn't have you protecting his blind side, man.
Right.
So you were in Europe. Is that where you got the shoulder injury and you had to?
So that's a weird story. When I was in the 9th grade, I was wrestling, and it was a very severe injury on my shoulder where I actually I went to toss someone and I fell off balance, put my hand back, and it broke my shoulder right through the head of the humerus. So right through your growth plate where the ball's at, and the ball rotated. Right. And so nowadays they would have rotated it back and pinned it, but at the time they didn't want to get into that joint. And so they left it where it was at and let it heal like that. So the anatomy of my shoulder was always not correct.
Wow.
And so all this lifting and heavy workout stuff I was doing at football was just sort of grinding it away. But I still had functional strength, right? And so when I did this, when I had this knee injury and I was rehabbing with that, I went to a doctor because I was starting to lose some stability, and I'm a left tackle. And I was like, I want to be 100% going into the season.
Yeah.
Like, this next shot, it's in. And so I went to this guy who was recommended, and he said, I can get you to 100%, or whenever someone says 100% or close to 100% run away.
Right. Yeah.
I should have. He said, I'll just go in. I won't remove any bone. I'll just remove some whatever, just do a light scope. And it was supposed to be a 45-minute surgery. It ended up being a couple hour surgery. Right. And he ended up removing these big bone spurs in there. He wasn't supposed to touch any of that. And when he came out and I talked to him, he said, you're never going to play again. And I said, what? So you go in, I'm going to be 100%. Right. And you're working all this, you blood, sweat, and tears. And this guy says, you're not going to play again. I said, oh, no. But what he had done in there, and the damage, in some of the damage previous, it's physics. My strength was blasted to probably 10%.
Wow.
And it was done. It was done. So I'm always grateful, because I'd been working with Hewlett Packard. At the time, they were always in my corner and watching what I was doing. And I worked for them for some summers as an intern. I was very grateful for the education. I talk to kids about that all the time, because I said, this football can give you opportunities and your education's not a small one. Take advantage of it.
Right.
Because not for long thing is most cases, and most people don't make it. And so I said, just utilize it, build your friendships, learn ways to be a leader.
Yeah.
All the stuff that it teaches you, and take that, because that's gold. Because of my situation, right? I got to step into working for a top company at Hewlett Packard at the time, and moved on, to be a project manager for several years.
So you were in Europe. So the day that you realized I'm no longer playing football, where were you in the world?
I was rehabbing in Florida, Panama City Health South.
Okay.
So it's the big facility where broken football players go to get healed.
Wow.
At the time. And I met a lot of other players from all over the league.
Yeah.
Sort of all of us getting our injuries taken care of there. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was definitely a deflator. And I never realized how much something like that rocks you a little bit. And even to this day, I mean, football is one of those things that just never leaves your blood.
Sure.
Every season, when you think back to the broken bones and the 3 days and all that, like, realistic, you go, okay, I'm good. I'm good now. Right. But, it's just I don't regret any of the injuries and all that and the experience,
Sure.
and the brotherhood and all that. You just don't get to get to experience stuff like that. So even
Right.
now in this role that I got, I wasn't expecting that. I
Yeah.
was an inactive free agent and all, and these guys just really liked, this work that I'm doing and all that, and
Yeah.
the business mind, and voted
That's
me in. So
awesome, dude.
yeah.
So you permanently are out of the NFL. Um, you
Before it
realize
started,
you're what's
yeah,
that?
yeah, before it really got traction, and
Yeah.
that was the thing. If it, that's always been a little haunting, and I don't want to get into the negatives. This is just the
Sure.
truth with
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. Sure.
If it would have been hard, like it was tough, right? But it was very doable, and I could see myself doing very well. Now, if I went there and just got destroyed, right, and you left, that's a different way. But to be there when you're getting momentum, that was always I always
Yeah.
call it a bittersweet experience.
Yeah.
My mom was always she told me later, I was always sort of happy you didn't. She said
Oh,
with the brain injuries and with the
yeah.
body injuries and stuff, and I sort of get that. Yeah,
Some of those guys are beat up, man, at the end
yeah,
of their short careers. I
yeah.
mean, what's a lineman gonna make it on average? 4 or 5 years,
Oh, it's
maybe?
closer to 2 years.
Is it 2?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh my gosh.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
2 years,
yeah, yeah. It's
and
these
you're
that was the
excited
number.
about that? Like, what?
And then
But,
you have like, yeah. Go ahead.
everybody thinks they're gonna be different though, right?
Mhm.
Everybody, "Oh, it's gonna be different for me."
Well, you have the guys that are you have the guys that are I'm not going to say unicorns again because it's a lot of hard work, taking care of your
Yeah,
body and luck,
yeah,
right? With
yeah, yeah,
injuries,
yeah,
like Jackie Slater was one of my. I went by the name Jackie, my childhood name,
yeah.
and Jackie Slater is a Hall of Famer. It was an All Pro. I believe he's a Hall of Famer, but he played 20 some years as an offensive tackle. And he
What?
wasn't a big tackle, right? He was a smaller tackle, but just a phenomenal player. And I
Wow.
just remember how did he do that? But
Yeah. No kidding, man.
yeah,
So the day that you realized that, okay, I'm done. I'm not gonna be in the NFL now. Um, what was that moment like for you? Because that's kind of what this show's about. Like, because you talk about being stuck. I can see where you would be like mentally like
yeah.
because one question I had is, did you as a kid or in college, did you have these hopes and aspirations that one day I'm going to be in the NFL and I'm going to no.
Well, it's funny. As a real young kid, I said I wanted to be an NFL player and an engineer, like
Oh,
when I was 4 or 5, right? And so
yeah.
it's crazy how it happened. But football and the NFL, as I got older, the NFL was not a dream of mine. Um, I was wanting to get a scholarship to pay for engineering and go to a great engineering school. I thought, looking back on it, I like creative stuff a lot more. I dabbled in acting, and some things like that, and marketing, and I'm very good at it, and I love it. And so I
Yeah.
always wonder sometimes, but yeah, that's football was the vehicle to get me to some good schooling. And then when
Yeah.
that all started picking up naturally and organically, yeah, I just rode the wave and got more excited and made the best of the opportunity. And so when that thing happened with me, uh, it like I said, it was there was a depression that I'm sure happened at the time. I was pretty deflated
Yeah.
after doing all that and getting momentum and people saying, "Oh, you're going to do all this stuff," and coaches lining because you had to be voted into the World League by a bunch of offensive line coaches and all that. So there was a bunch of interest in me,
Wow.
and I think that Hewlett Packard support at the time in me helped with that transition because I went right to something else that I could do that in, right? Like
Right.
I could move right into, and it was a pretty cool role there. Um, and yeah, so that is sort of how I dealt with it. And then, the lessons you learn from it, and I coach on this a lot. just next level work. I mean, we all get stuck in our stuff, right?
Yep.
But if you know how to get unstuck, right, when you do falter, you can get unstuck quickly again. So you
Yeah.
want to get better at doing it, and then hopefully stay consistent,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
I just call it, whenever I get ready to hit it something, I say, I'm okay, it's time to NFL. That's what, in my mind, it's time to NFL. And it's just it's a mindset,
Yeah. Right.
so anything I do with that, and it's funny when speaking and all that and doing this with you, and when I get to talk to kids or do camps or talk to audiences, events, corporations, I get the same juice, right? It's the only thing that's come close to without my body taking the abuse,
Right.
right? So
Right.
I get pretty excited about moving more into this, and yeah, as a speaker that's doing stuff. So
I've heard, I've heard stories because I have other friends played in the NFL and college, and I've heard that when you go from college to playing in the NFL, the difference in just the way they hit is night
oh,
and day. Like like
yeah,
it's completely different, right?
well, welcome to the NFL. So yeah, so I was just but when I went there, I was spunky. I was nervous as shit and a little low,
Yeah.
confidence was wavering because there's a new environment.
Right.
But when someone hits me in the face, I've always been one to hit back, and the
Wow.
coaches loved that I would, even if the vets would give me their best shot, I would come back at them. It's a lot of fights and all that. So I was just sort of very docile, but between the whistles, I saw red. I was just a different person. Anyway, I was going against there was some one-on-one drills, and this was my welcome to the NFL moment. Marvin Washington was the tackle, and he brought on a full on. And this guy's got arms as big as his legs, right? And
Yeah.
he was close to 300 pounds of probably a 10% body fat. So you can
Wow.
imagine this guy,
Just ripped.
and he just ripped and starter and so one-on-one drills, and he brings it. He brings a full-on bull rush, and I
Mm.
stuffed the bull rush and washed him out, and then walked back to the huddle like, okay, like this is little. I sprained both knees, both ankles, got ice, and oh yeah, and this is the first part of camp, right? And so I'm just icing every night. I didn't let it show,
Oh
but,
my.
but he brought the heat. And then there was one other time where he did get under my pads and sent me. I don't care how big you are, you get leverage. You get sent airborne, and I remember almost knocking myself out when my head hit the ground. So those are two big hits by Marvin.
Wow.
And then the other story is fast. So when you move from college levels you get some guys, especially at the end, the Division II level, who are big and strong.
Yeah.
But not big, strong, coordinated, and fast.
Right.
So these guys are moving on V lines, not caring what's in their way at superhuman speeds, right?
Wow.
And I remember we did a scrimmage, and I was pass blocking, and I thought I had a good game. I was like, oh, that's a good scrimmage. And we're breaking down film, and I look on the film, and backer just blew past me. And I was like, and I don't even remember him doing it because I didn't see it happen. Right, that's how fast it was, and that was early on. And then, so
Wow.
the speed is just off the hook, and
Yeah.
something that I had to get used to. And they would actually teach you, and I teach kids this now: is you don't blink, because literally in a blink between the whistle, there's so much that happens in that blink, especially on the line. And so I came from that experience. I remember that going back to my school at the time, and I remember just going, oh my God, I used to play it, because it looked like, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but it looked like Pop Warner, like after coming from the NFL back to that. And I was like, why did I just not be a man among boy, like just dominate this thing back at Mines? And so that's the lesson I always teach is if you get the opportunity, practice with next levels.
Yeah.
Like I work with you, you know, you're a friend and a mentor, and
Yeah.
Glenn, you know, the greats,
Yeah.
Craig. Yeah, you want to work at those next levels. So
It's
you could, yeah,
it's crazy how the human condition works is you don't until you get to those next levels, you don't realize what you're capable of. Like
no,
it's crazy. Like that's why I love this story and your story, man, is because
yeah,
I watched you from when that first night I met you on Clubhouse when you were talking about your dad
yeah,
and with Glenn and I and everybody else in the room and where you've come from just that day, and you're
yeah,
we're always moving up, we're always getting to the next level, man, and that's what I love about your story. So you get out of the NFL,
yeah,
you go to work for Hewlett Packard,
yeah.
and where did things go? I can't even believe we've been on here 51 minutes already,
Right.
dude. That's crazy. Where did things go from there? This blew by the way. I feel like we just watched a very fast NFL game. Where
I
where
could keep talking with you all day. Yeah.
No, I love it, dude. This is awesome. But where did things go after you got out of the NFL? You went through a little state of depression, I'm sure. But where did things go for you from there?
So yeah, that's where I'm proud of this as well. So I graduated from School of Mines on the dean's list with honors,
Wow,
from a
that's
top
awesome.
tier engineering school. So I brag about the Colorado School of Mines because its reputation lives up to itself. It's incredibly hard. It was
Yeah,
incredibly, so I'm very proud of the fact that I was able to do the sports and get the NFL shot and then graduate with honors from Mines. And I was given the opportunity to work with Hewlett Packard from manufacturing through R&D and some marketing. And then I realized I wasn't really into engineering, being an engineer specifically, but wanted to be a project manager on
right.
bigger projects. And so, because then I could sort of touch all the different parts of it, funding, asking for funding, working, pulling together the engineering groups and the construction groups, environmental, just sort of put all the pieces together to put together these really huge, cool projects. And so I did that for several years as a project manager, and I would do some speaking stuff in there as well. Always a coach. I always like to talk to people and help wherever I can. So
Yeah.
um, I did that for 20 plus years or 25 plus years as a project manager, working on projects up to over $100 million. And then
Wow.
I did some stuff for our government, one of our DoD special laboratories out in California.
Wow.
That was some cool stories out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I did that, and then I ended up as a contractor putting in an administration building for Southern California Edison here, and it was California. And I said, you know what? I've always said I want to do the speaking coaching thing full time, and I'm also an inventor. So that's the other thing that sort of keeps my juices flowing. I've been that my whole life, and I
Wow.
actually have some patents and all that. And that's what I'm working on now, actually. So I'm sort of not doing as much stuff as in terms of the speaking and coaching aspect right now, because I received the cool patent that I'm now bringing to market parts of it and trying to figure out how to market the patent. So
What is it? I mean, can you talk about a little bit? Like,
yeah, I'll stay high level because I don't want to bore your crowd. But
oh,
it's yeah, I can nerd out big time. I call myself a jock nerd.
wow.
So it's a so it's a QR code method patent. And what's cool about it is I got a
Well,
really
hold
early,
on. Let's stop right there. Craig says, but you're an amazing speaker.
yeah. And I want it. That is my passion. And you know that, Craig. I just yeah, the whole
Well,
focus
let
thing.
me remind you, in case you weren't around when Confucius said this.
Thank you, Craig.
Confucius said, "A man who chases two rabbits catches none."
Yeah. That's been the story. You know that whole focus thing, man.
Yeah, I do.
Shiny squirrel.
Between me and Craig, we're gonna get you focused, man. So,
Yeah.
all right, talk about your invention, though. Talk about that.
Okay, high level. So it's a method patent that I got back. There was this application I wrote. So I worked on the specifications. And I worked with my attorney for many years, really close with my patent attorney, and I filed it maybe in 2011. So
Okay.
it was way ahead of its time, and something just kept saying, keep this thing alive. So I would just kick it down the road by doing what you can do is just file application after application just to keep your string live back to your filing date. And because something was telling me to do it, it's expensive, but I was doing it, and I'm glad I did, because now QR codes and COVID, and there's a lot of stuff that's very applicable in that application. I finally went to receive a patent, and I got my first one, and then we're going to do some divisionals and continuations off that package. So, but I did get my first patent related to that, and so I'm working on a SaaS application right now with a developer that's equity. It's an equity play on that, a partner. And then, so I'm working on that to get a beta up, and I'll send it over to you when it's done.
Okay.
And then, so that's got me pretty busy. Yeah. And then there's other aspects in terms of licensing. So I don't necessarily, so I'm just starting to explore licensing opportunities and all that, and working with some of my cool, really successful mentors, in this space, the Alex Stearns, and just some of these guys.
Love Alex Stern.
He's an awesome dude.
He's
man.
amazing.
He pours in. I mean, this guy's a billionaire or whatnot, and he gave me an hour, and he calls me up to coach, help me with something. So
for those that don't know who Alec is, he's the co-founder of Constant Contact.
Yeah,
he's amazing.
He's amazing. Yeah. And when he called, and then not only we talked for an hour and a half, man, he's just dropping, one-on-one masterclass. So I can't say enough about the guy. But yeah, so that's got me the last few months, that's got me pretty busy, and just sort of putting that whole thing together. And now moving forward, I'm starting to pick back up speaking, because like I said, that's my passion.
Yeah.
So I want to start doing events. I'm looking at putting together my own event, and I've spoke for some corporations. I want to get back into that full tilt. Start working the network a little bit, and maybe some masterminding. I'm getting together. I've been saying this for 2 years, and there's some folks that are going, okay, but it's finally coming together, and I hope to bring some of the players on, from football, and that have their own businesses now, and so that's some of the stuff. And write that damn book. I know you've written all these books, man, and I just can't. I'm telling, can't. You can do anything you want, but it's one of those procrastination things I've got to get past.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, dude, you are, one of the things I love about, I was telling my wife last night, I said, you're going to love this guy, his energy. I said, at Craig's event, look, Craig said he's right. So at Craig, the VIP party after the event, I walked up and you were talking to Glenn, I think. And I said, is this guy giving you trouble, Glenn? Because I'll whoop his ass right now. And you just laughed. I told my wife I tried to push you. And you did.
I was laughing on the outside, but just scared like a, you don't know how scared I was on the inside.
Oh my God. You cracked me up, dude. So dude, you're awesome. I have a feeling there's some really, 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 really amazing things coming for you. And my wife said you've had an incredible journey. Dude, you're one of my favorite humans. So tell everybody, is it's jacksoncrisp.com.
Actually, believe it or not, I got a cool domain I'm going to start marketing. It's jackson.coach.
Is it out there?
It's out there, man. I think I checked it just briefly before we hopped on with all this notice.
Jackson.coach.
Yeah, see if I don't know. You could test it for me.
I'm just going to put it
it's a very simple site, but it gets you in it gets you in contact with me.
Let's see. Hold on. Okay. Yep. There it is. Yeah. I'm going to talk to you
I
about
am
that.
impressed with the tech, man. You just did
I,
that real time. I was trying to share something and I was like, I'm in trouble.
yeah, we're gonna talk about. I've been in web development for 28 years, right?
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so look, I appreciate the heck out of you, man. I love you. I love your energy. I love everything about you. You've got a lot of great things coming for you, Jackson. You're a good
Thank you,
dude.
brother.
So,
Love you too, man. And Jill, can't wait to meet you. I hear amazing things.
yeah, look, Craig, that's Craig.
Craig,
I'm gonna talk
you
to
know
him
what's
about
up. Love you
this.
too, brother.
Yeah, yeah. So Jackson, thank you for coming on today, sharing. I mean, I know it was just a little. There's
Yeah.
so much more to you, man. It's amazing, and I'm honored to call you a friend, man. I'm glad that you. I'm
Thank you, man.
glad you were here. Yeah, my wife can't wait to meet you as well. So we were just at Craig's house just over the weekend. We were down there hanging out with him and Natasha and the kids, and
Amazing people.
I was trying to give his son drum lessons. I'm kidding. Holy crap.
I saw that. Yeah.
Jeez, dude.
As a fan.
Yes. Oh my God.
On how to handle fans.
That dude is unbelievable, man.
Yeah.
All of Craig's kids, all three of them,
Very
they're
talented.
unbelievably talented. It's unreal. I felt so insecure around them. I was like, what the heck? What have I done with my life? Anyway, so no, dude, you're awesome. Thank you for being here today. Stay with me. I am going to end the live stream. Everybody that did not share this out, shame on you. I'm kidding. Share this out if you would, though, and let everybody know about the great Jackson Crisp, and go follow him over on jackson.coach. And dude, thank you, man. Appreciate you being here.
Ken, I feel the same way, man. You're just an amazing dude, and appreciate everything you do, brother. Yeah, one of those heart-centered. You're good humor and heart-centered with it. I love it. That's why we pick it.
I love pushing life right to the edge, like threatening a guy that's
well, it worked. Like I said, inside I was very nervous.
I was nervous. Oh my God. All right, bro. Listen, man, I appreciate you. Stay with me. Don't hang up. I'm going to end the live stream, though. Everybody that watched, thank you. If you shared this out, thank you. I really appreciate it. And we will see you all later. Have a great week and a great weekend. We'll see you later. Thank you, Jackson.
Thank you. All right,
see you guys.